Alrighty, and with everything, we should be live. How is everyone doing today? I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is grabbing the right mic. Of course it's not. Why would it be grabbing the right mic? Why would any technology that I use operate correctly when I need it to? Why would that be a thing? Anyways. Anywho. Hold on a second. One sec. Alright. Alrighty. So, that was a creepy second? Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry it was a creepy second. I was just responding to a comment. One of Call for an Uprising's fans decided to try to put me in a box, and that didn't work out very well for him. So, oh well. I'm sorry about your mother, Fog. Hopefully, the stream will be able to be a little distracting from that. Losing a loved one is never easy. Like, it really isn't. And there's nothing that makes it easier. But I don't want to dwell on that too much, because I'm sure that there's plenty of people who've lost a loved one who don't want to have that conversation. But just know I'm going to try to see if I could be at least entertaining enough to make things a little easier. Hopefully. Hopefully. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll be a complete and total failure in that regard. But hey, there's only one way to find out. Only one way to find out. And that's by trying. Seeing what I can do. Let's see. Okay, I gotta stop responding to private messages. I gotta stop. I have this bad habit of trying in the middle of streams to respond to DMs and deal with everything else, and it's a really bad habit because I'm supposed to be entertaining. I'm supposed to be doing stuff for the stream, and then I just like get completely and totally lost in other shit that is not part of the presentation. So yeah, things I need to get better about. That said, let's figure out what we are playing in the background here. Do. You know what? That better not be loud. Okay, that's not even coming out of the right thing. Go figure. Why would that come out of the right thing? Okay. To go volume. No. There we go. Okay, so we can lower things down. I need to get better about making sure that all of my stuff is set correctly. But I'm bad at that. Oh, and there's sharp back pain. That's cool. That's exactly what I wanted for today's stream. Random sharp back pain. Okay. Windows. I don't want to see your notifications. Go the fuck away. Go the fuck away. Don't let me see notifications. I don't fucking want them. I don't want them. Okay. Oh, shit. It is Tuesday. Thank you very much for the €5, Sarcastic Valet. we need to go ahead and change this. We made 173 last week on that goal. So we're going to go back down. I don't think 500 was a good idea. So we're just going to go back down. Okay, so it is the 23rd today. So we're going to go 02. No, it's going to be 03, 01, 2021. There we go. Okay, that looks to be right. Aha! Done. It is now up there. Okay, I know that many of y'all had tried to get me to go all the way up to $500 for the goal during the week. I think we learned that 200 was too low because you guys like smashed that in the beginning of the week every time because y'all are crazy. So this time, I'm just making it 300. That's what I'm going to do. I think that's more reasonable than the 500, and it's more in line with what people were asking for before. Also, I see you are giving love to Growlithe.
Yeah, love checked in here. Wanted to check in here before I let her in.
No, I let her in already. Good.
I assume she had not opened the door.
Not with the tie on it.
Another obstacle to overcome.
Yep.
Good thing I sweet. Did you like a sweet?
No. Please close door on way out. That works as well. Okay. Does my computer have a do not disturb function? That should stop the notifications. It might. It's Windows, so it should, but I've never used one before. Never done it before, so. Glitter says, I spent last weekend getting our well functional again. Oh, that sucks. Oh, I've had my well go out on me. It is super uncomfortable to try to go in there and get things put back in. It just straight up blows. Ay, ay, ay. Cat girl politicians at a crisis. Oh my god. Burst pipe? Ooh. So you had to, like, turn off your main, go in there, get a new pipe in, put plumber's tape in so it was completely and totally sealed. And then screw everything into place, right? That's never fun. Yeah, pipes aren't things you want to go boom. You want pipes to be strong and not to go boom. It's very important they don't go boom. That said, I think we can get into our first topic today. I think that'll be a pretty easy and important thing to do. So, let me go ahead and switch us. I don't know if I want Prison Island to be what we're playing for this.
That squirrel looks familiar.
That works out. Also, thank you very much, Spirit of Wrath, for the $20. Just got paid yesterday, so oops. For the Bork Fund. Bork, Bork, Bork. Bork! There, you get a Bork. All right. So I think we'll get into the first thing here. I'm sure anybody who watches a lot of atheist content is at least somewhat familiar with Dr. Frank Turek. If you watch Vice Rhino, or if you watch pretty much anyone who takes Christian apologists and deconstructs them down, you probably know who Frank Turek is. He is less important to this conversation than what he represents, so I'm not going to poison the well by doing a whole dissertation on the issues I have with Frank. But I do want to go ahead and go over his tweet here, because there's a whole conversation that starts as a result of this right here. Okay? So he says, if someone asks you, what do you think of same-sex marriage? You can go, well, it doesn't matter what I think about it. Here's what Jesus said about it. He said that marriage is between a man and a woman. So if you want to argue with that, you can argue with Jesus, not me. So, I want to go ahead and point out that, again, this is less about Frank and more about this idea, because this idea is far more pervasive than just Frank. So, let's go over the issues with this. One, marriage is a legal thing. There are legal benefits that are locked behind marriage, and regardless of your position on the efficacy of those legal benefits, the fact of the matter is that while we live in a world where those legal benefits are locked behind marriage, those legal benefits should be accessible by everyone. Otherwise, you're going to have to make some argument that lets the United States be a Christian nation and not a nation that merely has Christians in it. If you want our laws to be based on the Bible, and you want to argue for a theocracy, then that's an entirely different conversation. But currently we are not a theocracy. And currently our marriage laws are built in such a way that it only recently started including homosexuals in their ranks of people who could benefit legally from what you got. If I can give you an example of one of the ways in which homosexual people had to deal with this in the past, back in the day, and I know I'm saying back in the day like this was something that happened back in my time, but no, go back 30 years, one of the ways that people would get their legal benefits of marriage, things that are important, especially when it comes to tax season, they would adopt each other. They would have to go through a different legal agency that they would be allowed to do. Think about this. Two people love each other and they're in a relationship. They're able to adopt one another to get legal benefits that would be tied to marriage, but they can't just get married when their relationship is no more or less valid than any other human being. So, again, Frank, while marriage is a legal denomination, a legal institution, fuck your God and fuck what he thinks. Okay? Secondly, and here's the more important part, not so much as it's more important for people who have these struggles, it's more important where Christianity is concerned. So, I'm not a Christian, but I'm going to go ahead and say that if you can't stand by your convictions, and you feel the need to hide behind your God to justify your bigotry, then I'm going to call you what you are. You're a coward. Frank Turek, if you ever find this video, just know my opinion of you is one of cowardice. I believe that you are a coward. Here's the reasoning for that. You are an important figure in apologetics. You have a large platform. And when it comes time to ask, will you or will you not be a bigot? Your answer isn't to just be the bigot that you are. Your answer is to be a coward. Your answer is to go, well, it doesn't matter whether or not I'm a bigot. It matters whether or not God commands me to be a bigot. And since in your mind, in your epistemology, God is an all-knowing, all-powerful deity, you're hiding behind what you consider to be the most powerful bulwark and shield humanly possible. That is cowardly. That is something that only someone who is afraid to stand by their convictions and stand alone does. Because it's deflection. Instead of accepting the fact that you have a particular opinion on homosexuality, which is the case ontologically, you've instead decided that you're going to claim that this is all God's fault. No, don't blame me, blame God. No, it's not my fault, it's God's fault. No, it's this. Now, let's ignore the fact that Jesus never condemned homosexuality in the Bible. You may be able to find passages written by Paul or written in Leviticus that do so, and even then the scholarship on exactly how they go about that is not entirely agreed upon. But the fact of the matter is, even with the existence of those passages, if you're going to say, as Frank says here, here's what Jesus said about it, you may want to try to include something that Jesus said. Find me the passage where he says homosexuality is bad. And don't hide behind this notion that the Bible is a perfect book written in the inspiration of God, and as a result of its inspired nature, everything that is written in it is de facto by Jesus. Because if that's the case, then you have to accept the fact that if your daughter gets raped, you're perfectly fine to sell her out for 50 shekels of silver. Because when you accept the inerrancy of the Bible, when you accept that these things are not up for interpretation and are not up for change or debate, you also accept the reductio ad absurdum of every single thing in that book. And if you're willing to accept that, then maybe you're less of a coward than I thought. You're just a bigot. But when you hide behind that book, when you hide behind that notion of deity, that notion of perfection, that notion of a holy book that gets to tell you what to think and when to think, you've sacrificed your individuality, you've sacrificed your ability to call yourself a person with opinions, you've sacrificed everything in the name of hiding behind, essentially, your dad. I'm not one to use the Sky Daddy remark. I find it to be very insulting to people who are Christians in my audience. I don't like that kind of language, really, because Christian belief is its own thing, and people can't control their beliefs. And on top of that, not all Christians are bigots. My issue is not with Christianity. My issue is when you are a bigot who happens to be Christian, and you use your Christianity as a shield. When you use your Christianity as a bulwark, so that I can no longer have this conversation with you. Now you've told me to go speak to the manager, essentially. I need to go talk to God now, but funnily enough, conveniently enough, I can't do that. And neither can you. So we're left not having this conversation, and now nothing can change your mind. Nothing can change you from a position that is hurting individuals around you. We are necessarily stuck in conversational limbo. Because the person whose opinion that matters here, according to you, can never be present to the conversation. The conversation is necessarily between me and you, and it necessarily involves me, you, and the people who your opinion oppresses. But they don't get a say in this conversation, and I don't get a say in it, and you don't get a say in it. You get to scapegoat your God. Now, I want to ask you another question, if you are a Christian like Frank here, who scapegoats his deity in order to justify your bigoted opinions. How arrogant do you have to be as an individual to scapegoat someone else as your reason for having an opinion? How arrogant do you have to be? If you, as Frank Turek, or another Christian like him, tries to deflect everything to the Bible and say, no, this is what God says, therefore it's mine, what if, just imagine the hypothetical scenario where you've taken what you think God thinks out of context. And if you did, how arrogant of a person do you have to be to assume what they meant and potentially even get it wrong? you'd have to claim to know the mind of God, which is an absolutely stupendously arrogant statement to make if you in fact believe that God exists. So it's a multifaceted issue. It's an issue of hiding behind a deity like a coward instead of accepting the fact that you have an opinion that may or may not have a consequence behind it, especially to minority groups. It's also an issue of being arrogant and assuming what that deity must necessarily believe. You necessarily believe that God made someone gay and then decided to make them suffer, and then you decided that this God was all good, somehow. And of course, it is a stupendous reach of your bigotry, which is the first issue that I pointed out. It is a stupendous reach of your bigotry to try to argue that your book necessarily must have command over some minority group's life, over and above what we've argued democratically. At the end of the day, God's not beholden to this government. People are. So at the end of the day, it should be people that are beholden to this government that make the decisions about the government. Not the God who can really just screw off. Nothing he says, does, or thinks should have an effect on our government here. He literally has his own place where he can do all of that. So, again, this conversation is not just about Frank. It is about Christians like Frank. And if you are a Christian like Frank, I would ask you to please reevaluate your position if all you can do to maintain bigotry like homophobia, as demonstrated here, is hiding behind your book. Regardless, though, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, please hit subscribe, and as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here, after you've let me know your opinions in the comment section below. There. Yeah, we were talking Frank Turek. A very brief thing. I don't want to go through his whole Twitter or anything like that. I'm not concerned with that. What I wanted to do was point out that this particular opinion and the way in which it manifests bother me. Like a lot. Do. If Jesus says anything, he can come say it to my face. I literally can't resist being gay. What? CTC, even then, though, there's some teachings of Jesus that I'm not super big on. Like his positions on slavery. Like, even there, I have problems with it. Uh. Let's see. I was hungry, you fed me, etc. Okay. GB says half hour to the intro is acceptable. Internet costs money and get your act together. A half hour late and intro is unacceptable. Internet costs money, get your act together. What? A half hour late and intro is unacceptable? I'm not a half hour late. I was 5 minutes late. And I have multiple segments in a video. What the fuck are you talking about, GPH? What the fuck is going on? Good question. I have no idea. Alex Marie says, I held anti-LGBTQ myself in the past. I'm ashamed of it. From observation, they seem to believe falsely that God didn't make someone gay, but that the attraction is from sin. Do we know this person? Are they a troll? I have no idea. I have no idea. We just covered the Frank Turek segment, Peeb. I'm so sorry. Oh no, Cirrus is giving you free content on the internet. Okay. Anyways. We're done with the Frank Turek part. I do it again, start over. Nope. The VOD will be available later. The troll is neglecting his bridge. I'm calling the union. That's funny. No, trolls aren't anti-union. You see, they need to be a union in order to get enough people together to actually argue in favor of their workers' rights under the bridge. Before we get into the next segment, though, for those who don't already know, and I'm going to shill it as many times as I have to, but for those who don't already know, also, thank you very much for the $5, Cagliostro. For those who didn't know that I have a gaming channel, I would highly suggest, and by suggest, I mean I would beg, as in I'm begging right now, to maybe go over to that channel and subscribe to it. That would mean the world to me. I'm trying to get more content on there, and with more eyes on the content, I have more incentive to do the content. It's a very vicious cycle. It really sucks, but change the banner. Well, I'm gonna change the banner. Like, this banner needs to be changed. This is old. Would, but will never see eye to eye on anything gaming related. I mean, okay, do you need to see eye to eye with someone to subscribe to their channel, G-Wing? That just kind of creates echo chambers. The games you play trigger migraines. That's fair. Though, this isn't a channel that I stream on. This is a channel, like, this is the content that I'm trying to produce on there. Hold on. Let me pop that off. Oh boy, the Resident Evil 3 remake. I've been wanting to do something to officially kickstart this channel, since carryover videos and the older content on here doesn't exactly spark joy. And given the perception that I've seen from a lot of other YouTubers on the Resi 3 remake, it apparently doesn't spark joy with a lot of other people either. So, do I think it's a good game? Bad game? Do I think it remade the original well? I guess we'll have to get into that, because Resident Evil 3 to me is the very definition of a mixed bag. Anyway, I'm not going to play the rest of that. Or else I'll copyright myself. But, like, I don't actually do gameplay on there. I'm trying to do, like, video essays. Call me a heretic, but you've seen the Neko blink? I mean, I'm blinking right now. Yeah, Neko Cirrus is the gaming channel. It used to be called Cirrus Gaming, but I am switching it over to that. Also, GPH is here because he has a tiny penis. That's why. Like, dude has the smallest micro dick, so he's here. That's why. So, if you guys wanted to know, that's the actual reason. The real true reason. Never stream Sonic Riders? Nah, I'll give it a try. I'll do it anyway. At some point, maybe. Okay. Now that we are done with that one, let's go ahead and go to the next topic. Okay. So, how many times have you heard that equality is actually oppressive? I'm sure you've heard some form of it, right? Where there's a Christian that says that, whatchamacallit, if you have gay marriage allowed, then it oppresses traditional marriage or some other nonsense like that. I'm sure there's some variation of this that you've heard. So, let's go ahead and take a look at what the Catholic News Agency has to say about the Equality Act. The title of this piece is USCCB Equality Act would punish religious groups opposed to gender ideology. Well, that's not a charged sentence at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at see what the context is. Washington, D.C., February 19th, 2021. The U.S. Bishops' Conference has come out in opposition to the Equality Act, which was introduced in the U.S. House on Thursday. The bill, introduced by Representative David Cicilline, would recognize sexual orientation and gender identity as protected legal classes in a variety of areas, including housing, education, and public spaces. Think about that for a second. Think about what kind of an absolute asshole you have to be to hear, wait, minority groups want protections because they generally suffer unduly? Burn them all! No. I can't think of what kind of an asshole you have to be to come to these conclusions. But GPH in the chat would probably be able to tell you. What with his tiny dick and all. Anywho. Goes on to say that critics have warned that this would erode religious freedom and enshrine the redefinition of marriage and gender ideology in law, requiring people and groups to conform to LGBT equality and transgender ideology, regardless of religious belief. Okay, so let me ask, what does it mean to conform to transgender ideology? Because it seems to be that the manifestation of that always ends up being you have to use somebody's pronouns, which is about as offensive as having to use somebody's name, in that it's not. People literally are just getting upset that other people are asking basic respect. Like, that's it. That's it. Goes on to say that instead of respecting differences in beliefs about marriage and sexuality, the Equality Act would discriminate against people of faith. It's warned in a voter guide. Well, hold on. If you, as a Christian, can have a traditional Christian marriage, but someone who's gay is not allowed to have any marriage, aren't you the ones oppressing them? And if they're allowed their kind of marriage and you're allowed your kind of marriage, how does that discriminate against people of faith? Well, it doesn't, but apparently the Catholic News Agency thinks that it does for some weird reason. Hell, we didn't even take a look at their voter guide. First, it says everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. And then, of course, the rest of this is probably going to argue against it. The Equality Act, which is being voted on in the United States House of Representatives, in many ways does the opposite and needs to be opposed. Instead of respecting differences in beliefs about marriage and sexuality, the Equality Act would discriminate against people of faith. How, though? How does everyone having the opportunity to practice marriage and practice their own religion in the way that they want and so choose, how does that necessarily oppress you? As per many things here, the actual answer is that it doesn't, but when you desperately need to be a victim, when you desperately need to feel like the world is against you, else your entire ideology crumbles, Christian persecution complex being the most wonderful thing that it is, you would necessarily come to these conclusions. The Equality Act would apparently punish faith-based organizations such as charities and schools who serve everyone in their communities simply because of their beliefs. Wait, but how, though? Does it explain how? Is it that charity organizations would have to also give to transgender individuals or gay individuals, and they don't want that? Because, I mean, that's a lot of what Chick-fil-A used to fund. It would apparently force girls and women to compete against boys and men for limited opportunities in sports. Ah! Boy, it is almost as if every time that I have said that it's not about actual sports, it's just about transphobia, that manifests. So easy. You make it so easy. They'd have to share locker rooms and shower spaces with biological males who identify as women. Now, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys, okay? This is just an obvious one. But for somebody who doesn't know, okay? And let's see here. I'm going to show you two individuals. And I'm going to ask you which bathroom you think they should go into, okay? Now, I'm not trying to argue in favor of either of these individuals. In fact, I actually disagree heavily with both of these individuals politically on a lot of things. But I'm going to go ahead and bring them up anyway for the sake of this conversation. So let's say that on the one hand, you had Blair White. Okay? You have Blair White. Obviously, female. Easily. This is a woman. Now, what bathroom do you think she should go into? Well, according to the dumbasses over here, the men's room. Okay, let's get another one. This is super easy, though. Here's Buck Angel, okay? This is Buck. Now again, both these individuals I disagree with politically a shit ton, but they're very, very convenient for this particular conversation. So we got Buck here. Now, I have a question. If you had a 10-year-old daughter going into the bathroom, would you be comfortable with Buck being forced into that bathroom as well? Well, I don't know. If you're a transphobe, maybe let me know in the comment section below. But I would rather him go into the fucking men's room. Gonna be perfectly honest with you. But wait a minute. Their definition here is biological males who identify as women. Okay. By that definition, that would be Blair here. And you think that she should go there? Okay. I disagree heavily. In fact, actually, statistics bear out that when you force trans people into the bathrooms that they don't conform to via gender, the rate of sexual assault goes up. But not towards the cis people. The rate of sexual assault goes up towards trans people. So, per logical consequence, if you support this, if you were to put your number here and be against the Equality Act, and you would try to force trans people into the wrong bathrooms, and I don't know why we're still having that conversation, but if that's a thing you wanted to do, then congratulations. You've just argued in favor of sexual assault, as long as it's trans people being sexually assaulted. Now, I'm sure you don't believe that. I'm sure you're a good, conservative Christian individual, and you definitely don't think that trans people deserve to be sexually assaulted merely for existing, and yet you would be willing to engage in every action that would manifest in the material world in a way in which they would get assaulted in the bathroom. Which would be really weird if you did that, just saying. Continuing on the article. The bill, the conference, and other critics warn it would uphold transgender ideology by requiring girls and women to compete against boys and men for limited opportunities in sports and to share locker rooms and shower spaces with biological males and who identify as women. We just read that part in the Action Center. The bill could also force doctors to perform gender transition surgeries. Oh boy. You mean a doctor would have to do their job? What a fucking weird world. What a strange coincidence, having to make doctors do their job. Weird. I mean, if the doctor doesn't want to perform the surgery, he could always quit. Nobody's forcing him. We could go full Ayn Rand with this. We could go completely and totally libertarian with this if we wanted to. Go ahead and conform to the way that this side generally thinks. Sure. We're not forcing them. They can go get a job elsewhere. The market will provide, or some dumb shit. Groups opposed to the redefinition of marriage would be punished under the law. Okay, but how would they be punished? What? Are you going to show exactly how so? Or are you just going to say that so that your vapid article can fearmonger? Ryan Anderson, president of the Ethics and Policy Center, agreed that the bill would persecute those who do not embrace new sexual and gender ideologies. Okay, they've said this like 5 separate times, but they have yet to actually substantiate it. They've yet to actually show what would cause it. Let's go through the article as quick as we can and see if we can find it. So President Joe Biden praised the Equality Act. Oh wait, hold on. Let's see. Did it say it up here? Religious schools and charities could face federal sanction for operating according to basic biology and mainstream biblical teaching on sex and marriage. So, you mean organizations that are supposed to benefit everyone would be punished for being transphobic? It's so easy to just not be a transphobe. Like, it's actually not difficult to not be a transphobe. Literally, all it is just respecting another person. That's it. Just giving them basic decency. That's not super difficult. It's really not. But these people twist themselves into pretzels, desperately trying to pretend that to engage in basic human decency would be it would completely destroy their entire ideology, which, if basic human decency destroys your ideology, maybe, just maybe, the ideology is shit. Goes on to say that Biden, who in 2016 officiated a same-sex wedding, also touted his January 20th executive order on preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. The order stated his administration's policy of recognizing federal civil rights protection for sexual orientation and gender identity. The legislation was passed in the House in 2019. It's a policy priority of pro-LGBT groups such as the Human Rights Campaign. Oh boy, that's a place that I actually donate to. Biden has promised to sign this in his first 100 days in office. Anderson said the bill privileges men who identify as women over the safety of women. Now, I have a question. What safety of women are you truly worried about? If you're going to go with the argument that this is about bathrooms, then I'm going to go ahead and say, again, the statistics bear out that things are actually worse. Like, there's more sexual assault in the world that you're advocating for, where trans people can't go into the bathroom that they want to. Secondly, more importantly, I have a question. Do you think that a sign that shows a woman in a skirt is a magical barrier that prevents a criminal from just going into the bathroom and doing what they wanted to do in the first place? Do you live in the deluded fantasy world where the rules merely existing in such a way that they don't allow something suddenly means that the thing won't happen? Because if that's the case, if you truly believe that just putting up a "don't rape here" sign is going to stop somebody from trying, then I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, the idea to a Christian that somebody would never violate a rule merely because the rule was stated to them or shown in convenient picture form in front of a bathroom, ignoring the fact that the idea that nobody would follow those rules, or that people would always follow those rules, flies in the face of Christian teaching. Like, literally, trade out the bathroom sign for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you have the exact same story. Humans will just do it anyway if they want to. You merely telling them not to is not enough. But it's not about making things functionally better in the material reality, though. It's actually about control. It's always been about control. It's about trying to make sure that people that they don't like are controlled. They don't like trans people, so they want to make sure that trans people cannot go into a comfortable space. And it's dumb. Also, just gonna let you know right now, if you've ever gone into a women's bathroom, there aren't urinals there. So, how are you gonna even know that a trans woman walked in there? If frickin' Blair White, or Riley Dennis, or I could list a myriad of people here, walked into that bathroom and sat down on the toilet and did their business, and then walked out, washed their hands, and left, you'd never know they were trans. But then again, we did go over that bit of legislation that literally argued for an actual penis inspection day for children in schools. So I can't say that they're not above trying to have somebody, fondle your genitals in front of the door to see if you're really a girl or some shit. Goes on to say, let's see here. If the bill becomes law, men who identify as women would have a civil right to spend the night in a battered women's shelter, disrobe at a women's locker room, and compete on women's sports teams, even children at K through 12 public schools. Okay? And if you're a trans woman, going to a battered women's shelter is where you should be if you need that kind of shelter. Can you think, in a world where trans panic is a legal defense that people use, can you think of a situation where somebody might need to go to a battered women's shelter? And it's amazing that these always focus so heavily on trans women. They just ignore trans men like they don't frickin' exist or some shit. He claimed that should the bill become law, Pope Francis would be treated as the legal equivalent of a Jim Crow segregationist. Well, you said it, not me. Due to his opposition of transgender ideology and the redefinition of marriage. Well, we aren't a Catholic nation, so who the fuck cares? And no one, not even the Act sponsors, can tell us what would be required under the Act to avoid committing discrimination in the case of non-binary gender identities. Okay. Here's how you avoid discrimination when it comes to non-binary identities. Hey, what's your pronoun? Okay, cool. We'll go with that. Boom. Done. Easy. That's it. That's literally all I had to do. That's all I had to do, and it's all you have to do. It's so easy. It takes no thought. It takes no time. And just like with somebody's name, if you forget their pronoun, who the fuck cares? Just ask them again. Hey, I'm sorry, I forgot your pronoun. Could you remind me? It's the same sentences. Hey, I'm terrible with names. I forgot it. Can you remind me what your name is? It's so easy. If you just trade out pronoun for name, this conversation is so much more simple. It takes literally no time, no effort. No effort that you weren't already expounding on somebody's frickin' name. And online, it's super easy too. Go to Twitter. Most people, at least most sensible people, have a pronoun in their bio if they're concerned with this conversation in any capacity. It's super easy online to just look. There are Discord surfers. Mine has areas where you could put in, hey, my gender identity is this. I'm more of a he, she. I'm more of a they, them. Doesn't matter. It's super easy in this day and age to just treat a pronoun like a name and go forward with that. That's all it takes. It's not hard. And yet, Catholic News Agency desperately needs to be the victim. It can't be the minority groups who are the victims. No. It has to be them. They desperately need to feel like they are the ones oppressed while they end up having power distributed equally. I don't know. This shit's weird. These people are weird. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you have an opinion on this, then I'd like to hear it. I'd like to know it. I'm always up for those kinds of discussions, even if I vehemently disagree with particular positions in those discussions. That said, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please check the description below if you'd like to support my channel and what I do. And as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here. Like, this stuff is super easy. It takes no time. It takes no effort. Oh my gosh. How does one rational know and determine their pronouns? Doesn't fucking matter. If somebody says their pronoun is one thing, then you go with that. Same way people rationally determine their names. It's a socially constructed signifier. The mathematics behind it actually do not matter. Half the cis males in existence couldn't tell you what it means to be a man or how it feels to be a man.
That squirrel looks familiar.
Cogliostro super chatted $5. Thank you very much for that. Asmodeus has donated $3. If you're having issues with pronouns, then start with amateur nouns. Ha, that's funny. Pronouns is hard. Don't start pronouns in proud mode. Don't even... definitely don't do pronouns in critical mode. Well, so here's the thing, JMD. If somebody believes they're female, if somebody jibes with that, for the amount of time that they believe that, it takes no time to just use that. If I say, hey, my name's Cirrus, that's not the name that I was given at birth, but people would still use Cirrus. Same thing with a pronoun. Now, how they determine that, completely up to them. But like I said, even cis people can't give you an accurate depiction of what it means to feel as they do. We necessarily need comparison in order to engage in a lot of these conversations. And as I've not been a woman, I can't tell you what it means to be a man, because I can't compare it to anything except my own experience. Now, there are some people who experience dysphoria if you give them a certain name or use a certain pronoun that they don't identify with, and that can help, but not every trans person has a dysphoria. And I'm going to be honest, I agree that we should believe as many true things as possible, but when it comes to gender, as it's a socially constructed thing, the ontological truth behind a particular thing where gender is concerned is already going to be muddy water to begin with. Take another socially constructed thing. Take money. JMD, your name has as much ontological significance to your identity as your pronouns do. There are people whose identity is just as tied to their name as it is to their pronouns. My identity isn't tied to my pronouns because I'm gender apathetic. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I am cis because I identify as male, but if you were to call me she, it wouldn't bother me at all. I literally give no shits. But there are people whose identity is tied more with that, just as there are people whose identity is tied with their name more than others. To you, the name John doesn't have any significance ontologically, but to other people it does. Is my audio cutting out? I hope it's not, but it feels weird. Like, when I have my headphones on, it sounds like there's static in the back of my throat or some stuff. That's weird. Shalashi says, did somebody say my name? Not that I'm aware of, but hi. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat. Oh, wow, that was gas. Is Cirrus eating? Yes, I was putting some Chinese in my mouth real quick. Said if you want to, I probably won't respond since it's not my name. Okay, but what's in a name? Your name was socially given to you by someone else. What gave them more right to give you a name than anyone else? Is it more important that that name is what was socially given to you, or is it more important that that's the name that you identify with? Like, I identify with the name Cirrus more than I identify with Chris, even though Chris is my given name. At the end of the day, I think you and I would both agree it matters less the name that someone else gives to you and more the name that you identify with. Same thing with gender. It matters less what somebody else thinks you are and more what you feel you are. Even if you can't accurately describe what that feeling is, even if you can't give me a full dissertation in a sociological deconstruction of how you arrived at the classification that you gave yourself. Doesn't matter. That was a shy/she joke. Ah, okay. I've also gotten used to the surname Shy that she triggers my response. The username Shy that she triggers my response to a name. Ah, fair enough. Yeah, for me, Cress was my given name, but when I was 12, I started using it as a screen name, and as I got more friends online than I had in real life, and even many of my real-life friends started out as online friends, Cirrus just became a lot more natural to use. Following feelings and setting one up is one thing you should follow, and others should at all costs just be, is just dangerous to me. I mean, the thing is, though, when it comes to gender identity and when it comes to names, feelings is exactly how we come to those conclusions. Like, at the end of the day, feelings are just as important as logic. If you get stabbed in the stomach, you don't go, logically, I have been stabbed, therefore I should be feeling pain. Therefore, my brain is trying to send signals to me right now that are warning me that I have been stabbed in my stomach. Therefore, it is likely that I have been engaged in a violent act against myself, and regardless of the situation here, I need to go seek medical attention. No, your feelings come in there. Ow, that fucking hurt. Your type 1 thinking is just as important as your type 2 thinking. It's up to you to figure out which one is important in any given scenario, but they are both important. Alex says, Cirrus, have you seen the Trevor Noah bit where he dissects the transphobia of the bathroom issue? No, I haven't. I don't... No, JMD's not a robot. Okay, so it may sound... It may not sound like it, given the way that I'm addressing him in the chat, but JMD is actually a friend of mine. We have a myriad of disagreements, but he is actually a friend of mine. So I'd prefer not disrespecting him in the chat, even if we have a shit ton of disagreements. Why would you be friends with the Chud, though? Because I don't like echo chambers. That is literally the extent of it there. The thing is that JMD's not been poorly meaning with anything here. He is asking questions that he legitimately believes. Most of these here do not seem to be gotchas. On top of that, I have to bring up the issue of echo chambers again. If every person that I associated with believed the exact same things that I did, whether or not we are correct, then the only perspective I would ever have is the perspective of people who think exactly like me. And that would be functionally useless. So how is this comparable to being stabbed in a vital organ, which is clearly ontologically significant? Because the feeling of being stabbed is more important. The type 1 thinking that gives you your split-second reactions when you are stabbed is just as important as the type 2 there. The type 2 thinking that logically gives you everything. Feeling is a sandwich. This is true. Like, at the end of the day, let's take something that can only be described in type 1 thinking, generally speaking. Take an emotion like love. I could logically break down love, point out that it's a series of chemical markers that have gotten us to a particular scenario. I could even bring in the use of pheromones and how they manipulate a feeling that we call love. But at the end of the day, none of that fucking matters. If I look at somebody and I say that I love them, that's gonna be the part that matters more than all of the nitty-gritty there. I functionally don't care about the nitty-gritty there. None of that's useful to me. Are friends sandwiches? Everything's a sandwich, so yes. Friends are sandwiches. This is axiomatic. Everything is a sandwich. That is the one true axiom of life. No, functionally, love is nothing more than biochemistry. It is nothing more than biochemistry. If you want to take a purely type 2 approach to it, that's all it is. But at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be just that. JMD says, I'm asking with gender. I'm being called names in your chat. I don't feel as if I'm being stabbed, which is my prior to type 1 thinking. Type 1 seems to come before type 2 in choosing a pronoun. Well, yeah, and type 1... So it depends on the individual. There are some people... Let me give you a type 2 example. Now, granted, I'm not trans, so I'm going to be building this off of other people's experiences. A type 1 experience for determining your gender could easily be you looked in the mirror and you felt like a girl. Whatever the fuck that means. Cool. There you go. A type 2 function, or type 2 version of this is, you looked in the mirror and you may not have felt quite right, so you went to the next logical step and you dressed yourself differently, maybe more masculine, maybe more feminine, and then you looked in the mirror and said, that looks a little more right. And then, when you decided to talk that over with a psychologist, you discovered that you may have gender dysphoria, or you may simply be more comfortable in one gender than another, so you begin to express that way more often. You, over time, logically construct the scenario around yourself where you have one gender identity that you functionally vibe with more than another. A lot more involved than just feeling one way. You've actively involved yourself in experimentation of one form or another to get there. Then there you go. Type 1 isn't, so, in logic, type 1 thinking is, it's your gut reaction. That's what it is. It's your intuition. Type 1 is intuition. Type 2 is logic. So, type 1, if you hear a rustle in the bushes, that could be a tiger. That's type 1 thinking. That could be a tiger that is that it's going to come out and attack me and eat me. That's intuition. That is just your gut reaction. Type 2 thinking is, okay, I've heard something in the bush, but it's 6 a.m. I'm nowhere near a zoo. I live in the middle of the suburbs. It is likely not a tiger. I am also in broad daylight. Maybe 6 a.m. isn't the best thing, but I'm in broad daylight and there's at least 3 people looking at me. I'm also likely not about to be attacked. Your type 1 thinking was the immediate fear. Your type 2 thinking was going through the processes of trying to narrow down what could possibly be in that bush and coming to the conclusion that it is likely or not likely something that is threatening. JMD says intuition is not an emotional gut feeling. Actually, no. Yes, it is. Intuition is synonymous with gut instinct. It is your immediate understanding of something. The immediate understanding you have of something that doesn't require thinking something over or getting another opinion. It is merely something that you know or you feel you know. That is definitionally your intuition. And he says, love is a virtue and habit, not biochemistry. No, love is in fact biochemistry. The feeling of love is biochemical. The thing that starts it, the habits that form around it, all of that forms because of biochemistry. Virtue ethics are categorically separate from science. I did point out earlier that it can be more. You can view love in the virtue sense. You can view love as more than that. There's nothing wrong with that. But to argue that it is necessarily not is in fact untrue. Yeah, technically, all your feelings are biochemistry. Yes. Thoughts on Michael Shermer? Founding publisher of Skeptic Magazine, the host of Science Salem podcast. I actually have no idea who this person is. I'm gonna let you know right now. I have no idea who this individual is. Yeah, there's gender euphoria as well. That's something that I didn't even think of during that thought there. Because one of the issues with transmedicalism is they'll tend to argue that gender dysphoria is a requirement of being trans. You must have suffered gender dysphoria at some point to come to the conclusion about what your gender is. But if you've never experienced dysphoria, but you have experienced euphoria, it's less gatekeeping behind suffering. Shermer's a pretty big skeptic figure. Okay. Again, not somebody who I know about. What's gender euphoria? Okay, here's an example. So let's say that I look in a mirror and I see myself as male in the mirror. And I just feel normal. Like that's it. That's all I feel. Nothing bad, but nothing great, just there. And then let's say that I cosplay as a female character. I make myself look very obviously feminine. And then I look in the mirror and I feel this sense of well, the only word for it there would be euphoria. You have this overwhelming good feeling, and it's not random. It's associated with the exact thing that you're doing. You've looked in the mirror, you've seen yourself as a female, and you experience euphoria as a result of that. That is gender euphoria. You have performed, you've engaged in performative gender theory, coded yourself as a woman, and experienced euphoria as a result of it. Muted? Shouldn't be muted. Everything should be here still. Have you heard of the Christian propaganda ads from jfbelievers.com? No, I haven't. Is this an argument for the intuition, then, for how one identifies? It can be both. So what I gave there is a mere feeling, gender euphoria. The feeling that you've gotten does not necessarily mean that you will come to the conclusion about your gender identity merely as a result of that. There are some people who will, and there are some people who won't, just as there are some people who come to any belief for good or bad reasons. There are some people who will experience that euphoria and then run it by another person to get a second opinion, then sit down and engage in months of psychological studying, and then try HRT for a time, maybe 6 months, to see if the euphoria continues, and if it does, then come to the conclusion that they are actually trans and their gender identity is not the one they were assigned at birth. Like, that's... It is different for each person. Some people come to that conclusion very quickly, and for some people, that conclusion changes. There are some people who, as an example, get coded very, very, very toxically masculine in their first 20 years of life. Because, let's say, they've got a father who is trying to push them to believe a certain thing, who wants his star football player, you know, what have you. You've probably heard a story about some father or some mother that desperately tried to code their child at one point. And that wanting to be the perfect son ends up turning into them going, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. So they go on the full opposite. They identify as female. Not because of what the parents did. They were going to identify as female no matter what. That was going to happen at some point. But they end up going full on into it at about 20, as soon as they have their independence. And for about 10 years, they are female. That's their gender identity. And then after having 10 years of being able to exist comfortably as themselves, they realize, maybe I'm not actually female. Maybe I'm actually some form of non-binary. I'm certainly more comfortable presenting female, certainly more comfortable being this way, but maybe not strictly trans female. Non-binary female presenting, yes, but not necessarily trans female. Because the catalyst to them going as far as they did into an opposite gender identity was an oppressive environment from before, and now, 10 years later, they're realizing they didn't really want to go all that far to begin with. They felt they had to, though. And they come to realize there's some form of non-binary. That's a thing that happens more often than not. Non-binary. And at the end of the day, when you're asking those questions for yourself, most of that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. The problem generally comes into when you're asking those questions of another individual. If it is in the form of, hey, I want to know about your experience. How did you come to the conclusions that you did? How did you come to the positions that you hold? That is fine. But if it comes down to trying to find some way that these things aren't necessarily wrong and poking holes into them, at the end of the day, this is just people's fucking identity. If you're non-binary, what are your pronouns? Oh my god. That said, the best person to ask about stuff like this isn't me. I'm a cis person. At the end of the day, my knowledge of this subject comes from trans friends of mine, comes from literature that I've had a chance to read from sociologists. It is not my lived experience. The best thing you can do is ask somebody who is trans about their personal experience. Jandy says, from experience, I've had feelings that I've almost followed that was experienced in such a way described. Then I found out that I took opinions from others and allowed them to control who I was. Well, taking opinions from others and letting them control who you are is a bad thing. At the end of the day, you need to follow whatever path makes you the most comfortable and functional individual you can be. I just hope that the process is not accepting gaslighting opinions of others to choose what you identify as. I mean, it's not if I were to tell you right now that I identified as female, and to please call me she, up until the point where that changes, if that ever changes, it's not gaslighting of you to do the thing that I have requested of you. It's merely respect. It's only gaslighting if, from your perspective, you're telling me something that is a lie. But at the end of the day, my identity is up to me to decide, not you. So you don't even have the ability to determine whether or not I'm lying. That's up to me. It's also on me at the end of the day. Like, just as a name is a basic courtesy, pronoun is a basic courtesy. Takes no effort, takes no research, takes nothing. It's just use the name, use the pronoun, use something that somebody gives you. It's not gaslighting to give them basic respect. Comfort is not something I follow, does not lead to truth. Okay, then you can choose not to go... You can choose not to be comfort. You can choose not to be comfortable. That's fine, but you don't get to choose what other people get. That's the divide here, JMD. You don't get to choose for other people. Again, it's literally just basic courtesy. Please don't call me X. I'd rather you call me this. Okay, but the thing is, though, is that if you look at everything through a strict lens of logic and you ignore anybody's emotions, you're functionally arguing like a robot. Your interpersonal relationships will be nothing but data transfer. That's it. And by the way, comfort is not meaningless. Because there are people's mental health that are completely and totally tied to whether or not they are able to be comfortable. Comfortable in their own skin, comfortable with their family, comfortable in their identity. Okay, yes, but JMD, how do you determine what is an irrational emotion? If it is somebody else's emotion, that's not up for you to decide. If it's something like their identity, then you still don't get to ignore that. I mean, you can if you want to be an asshole. That's up to you, though. You can be an asshole. Nobody said you can't be an asshole. There are irrational emotions. Tisa, don't hop there. There are irrational emotions. Now, all emotions are valid. Whether or not they're sound is another question. There are irrational emotions. There are emotions that stem from irrational decisions or irrational environments. It doesn't mean they're not valid, but they can be irrational. Just as in a syllogism, you can have a syllogism that is valid, but not sound. Would a more precise term be irrational reaction? An irrational reaction is a lot more functional. The emotion itself, maybe not, but like, as somebody who's been to therapy and has had to sit down and study a little bit of psychology, all emotions are valid. They all stem from something. It's the way in which you allow them to manifest, which may or may not be. And also, the emotions themselves can be considered irrational depending on the context of them. But they are still valid. But we're mixing terms here. We're mixing psychological stuff with philosophical stuff, which sometimes doesn't always work out. Can a gaslighter be factually correct about something but behaving in a bad way? So there's a confusion there, Alex. Can a gaslighter, somebody who engages in gaslighting, be correct about something but behave bad? Yes. Now, if you were to say, can someone in the act of gaslighting be factually correct? It depends on what version of factually correct we're working with. Like, at the end of the day, my position is this when it comes to somebody else's gender identity. I can come in with all of the logic, all of the science, all the what have you. Doesn't matter. What they identify as is the exact same thing as what name they prefer. It doesn't have to be rooted in anything for it to be valid. Now, this isn't to say that there are not people who will use their gender identity as a weapon. I have met at least 2. But it's not up to me to determine if they are or not. The handful of people who've used it as a weapon, and I'm not going to name them here because I don't feel like that's important, but the handful of people who have used it as a weapon don't suddenly invalidate the hundreds of people who don't. Risk Creek's like, oh, I know who you're talking about. Well, and you might. You might. I wouldn't say comfort is everything, Lelin. I have to do things that are incredibly uncomfortable for me every day in order to exist. I live out in the woods. I'd much rather live in the middle of the city, but this is the place that I own. I'm uncomfortable with a lot of the things I have to do for existence here. I don't know if you're one of those people, John. If somebody tells you what their gender identity is, do you try to argue with them about it, or do you just go, okay, thank you for telling me? That's the determining factor. Moreover, if it doesn't matter to you what the opinion of me is there, then why ask it? If it doesn't matter to you to do anything about it, it doesn't matter to me to say it. If I could afford, it would be my dream city. Hard to say. I wouldn't mind living in, like... I wouldn't mind living for a little while in New York. Sucky sucky for $5. You liberals are corrupting this country. Okay. Cool. We're corrupting the country, and? What is the country? How is it being corrupted? Also, why do I care? Alexander, the term transgenderism is thrown around by transphobes because they try to throw every single belief about transgender people into a unified ideology, some kind of monolith. That's not really accurate. Leland says, as a person that lives in constant pain, I would just like to live in comfort, and I understand that. That's good. That's why if they're interested in real conversation, if I don't because I don't understand, and they come at my jugular, I will not respect it just because of how it's defended, not in principle. I was curious. That's fair. Again, JMD, my position is that you are merely curious. Because I've known you for years, And generally speaking, with a handful of exceptions, you don't seem to do things from a dishonest perspective. At the very least, you don't try to. So I believe that most things have been asked in good faith. Superman Warmay says, are you a trap? So I'm going to say right now, I'm not entirely comfortable with that term. And the reason for that is that the trans panic defense exists. And because that exists, the term trap just feels really awkward to me. Because there are people who got killed for being literally what someone else considered a trap. JMD, I don't believe that, for instance, the Twitter spat we had earlier. For the most part, anytime somebody is only using retweet, it is for the purpose of showing the last thing that was said to an audience instead of having an actual dialogue tree that's easy to follow. And that has always felt very dishonest to me to use for the entirety of a conversation. I only really know of one other person who does that repeatedly, who's in, like, my sphere. And I'm not a big fan of when he does it either. But I find that to be kind of dishonest, because instead of having a dialogue tree that can be followed by multiple people, you have a series of almost gotchas, or something that can lead to gotchas, because the retweet tree isn't going to be able to be followed the same way that a standard Twitter dialogue is. That's just my ignorance of Twitter. Okay, that's understandable. So, I'll make it super easy. So, we were looking at this thing from Frank Turek, but we don't need it now. So, like, if I'm looking at a conversation down a tree, I'm looking at, here's the tweet, somebody responded to the tweet, and then I can follow that the creator responded to the next tweet. This is also my good friend Channel Pup, who's changing the structure of his channel right now. Whereas our conversation... let me go to it real quick. So our conversation, when I click on this, for me to actually follow the conversation, I'm having to go pull up here and go to multiple different pages in order to read a single conversation. And not everybody's going to do that. Most people habitually will just look at what's on the screen and go with that. Which is why a standard conversation flow is generally used more often, and it's seen as a lot more honest. The other thing is that in a standard conversation flow, if I go to here, I don't know how many conversations I've had recently, but here, because I've not done the retweet thing in that conversation, my page looks like this. This thing that I retweeted, me saying I'm going live in 5 minutes, a thread that I started myself and stuff that I have pointed out on the thread itself. Individual threads. But then if I go to yours, and this is kind of the linchpin, your page will necessarily have your retweets shown front and center, every single one. So anybody coming to your page who's, let's say that they're a fan of brutal takedowns, that the thing that we see a lot in like the skeptic community, they're going to come to your page and they're going to see all of these responses like this instead of individual conversations. And this gives them snapshots of conversations where literally anything can be decontextualized. Yes, technically, they can click on something and go through the thread manually, but most people are not going to do that. That's why it ends up seeming to be very dishonest when somebody engages only through the retweet. The retweet of the person who was talking about artists, thank you, the need to get paid for the work that they do. Yeah, that was Wayne. Wayne is boss, who's another good friend of mine. Twitter etiquette. Yeah. Now, granted, Twitter's a shit platform. At the end of the day, Twitter is an absolute garbage platform where most of the time friendships go to die because people engage in fights there more than they actually engage in spirited conversation. So, the environment isn't really great for conversation to begin with. Yeah, all Twitter is fighting. I can agree with that. You made more friends on Twitter than you lost. So, I've made friends on Twitter, but a lot of the times I've lost friends on Twitter. Now, granted, some of the friends that I've lost, I'm not 100% upset that I lost. And some of the conversations that I've lost them through, I'm not 100% upset about either. So, like I tweeted in response earlier, Twitter's not really a conversation platform. I agree with you when it comes to our real conversations. Yeah, like our... For people who don't... Because these conversations have happened in like, Discord calls. Me and JMD have had, like, 6-hour-long conversations about just random shit. Usually it devolves into philosophical conversations. So... Like, that's why I said, I know you can do better. And now that I understand that, okay, you didn't know that this is kind of a thing that happens with Twitter, the toxicity of Twitter's magnified through the retweet, it makes sense. Sucky for $5 says, you don't have any friends, but I'll be your friend. Okay. I think I'd rather not have you as a friend, but thank you for the $2 super chat. I'm actually very comfortable with the friends that I have right now. Like, truly and honestly, I am. That said, the video that I am going... The edited video, because I haven't done edited content in a while. The edited video that I'm working on in the next few days... I think JMD in particular will be interested in, because it was it's going to be a very old video where people were demonizing Pokemon that we're going over, and it's going to be interesting. Blitzkrieg, what's a Bork? Well, it depends. If we're talking League of Legends, Blade of the Ruined King. Though I still need to wait until Reformed Christian Apologist has actually gotten his arm to stop hurting so we can play League again. But if we're talking in the context of the stream, barking, because for some reason you monsters make me bark, and it's weird. Autobot, no, you didn't miss Kirb. Kirb is coming up. Is it because I'm black? Wow, dude, not cool. Well, thank you again for the $2 super chat, but no, I have no idea what your ethnicity is. It didn't factor into my my position here. My position largely came because you said that I have no friends, and I know that that's not true. Oh no, Kirb, leave me alone. No, go away. Go away, Kirb. Mother used to tell me I play a demon-possessed game, then I saw her music history. Yeah, it's like, you like demon-possessed shit, and then you look at what they're listening to, they're listening to Pink Floyd, and you're like, oh, okay. Speaking of barking, can we talk about how horrible people on Fox are being towards Biden's dog? I actually got a Twitter suspension because of something I said about the Biden's dog thing. Does Alexander Townsend block me? Why won't Alex respond to my question instead of just trashing me in hopes I'll be banned? What? I'm confused. What happened to random chatting at the end of the stream and not in the middle? I am very bad at my job. That's what happened, Mage. I am absolutely awful at everything that I attempt to do. And so here we are. As for what I said, somebody had said something disparaging about the dog, like how it didn't look loved and shit, and I was just like, dude, if you don't lay off the dog, you probably deserve to be bitten by one. And apparently Twitter viewed that as a violation of their rules. Because technically it was wishing harm on another human being. And they didn't like that. So, yeah. I just didn't appreciate it. I don't even fucking like Biden, but I didn't appreciate that. So, meh. Nakomi saw him for the $5. My dad got upset that my stepbrother and I wanted to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And called it demonic. Oh, I had a friend who, his parents, or his adoptive mother, said that the portal on the back of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards was a portal to hell, and if he kept playing, he'd be sucked in. Just... Yeah, gaslighting's an overused term. Gaslighting is fairly overused, so I'll go ahead and give people the easiest definition of it real quick. If you are engaging in behavior that the purpose of it is to make someone else question their reality, that is gaslighting. That's... It has a definition. So if... the term begins, or the term's usage dates back to an old movie where a man tried to make his wife go insane because she would see that the lights, the gas lights in the house were being dimmed, because with gas lights, if you turn them all on, they all end up being dim. So when somebody's gaslighting you, he would say that, no, the lights aren't being dimmed. Now, what literally happened is he had a friend in the basement turning on extra lights so that the lights would get more dim, and he made the woman, his wife, question reality to the point where she slowly went insane. And that's where we get the term from, is a particular type of behavior that leads to someone questioning reality. It's not a great movie, but it's interesting as the origin of the term. Yeah, a lot of things don't end up being good in and of themselves, but they're springboards. Oh, did Pup actually show his thing? That's unfortunate. Hold on. Before we get into the next thing.
Today, we're doing a rundown of what is going on with Channel Pup and what the future holds. So, stay tuned.
Okay, I don't want your opening, Pup.
As far as the original vision went, the original idea and the channel that we all know has ended. This is the ending of Channel Pup as a singular YouTube entity. The concept was originally to be this magazine-style channel where you'd get a little bit of movie news, a little bit of discussion about current events in the film and TV industry, and you'd get some jokes, some theories, as well as gaming content. Now, it's clear to me that in doing all of this, it has kind of overstretched one singular channel, dividing that channel's audience. So something I tried for 2021 to remedy this was to bundle videos together, do segments instead. And all this went with this new sort of almost talk show looking format, which I'm still actually pretty proud of. And the idea was that you'd never have to wait too long for me to cover something about something that you are interested in, whether you're interested in the more gaming side of it, or whether you're interested in more of the multimedia entertainment news side of it. But honestly, I think this pleased no one, aside from the new refreshing look of the channel. I think all that happened was people were just getting very short segments of the stuff they were interested in, and people would be skipping most of the video, and let's face it, that's bad for my watch time. And I'm gonna be transparent with you guys, money is an aspect of this, especially during the times we're living in right now with the pandy ravaging the world, etc. I do need to find ways to make a living. So dividing my audience and confusing the algorithm is clearly not going to be the way forward.
Okay, so this is just the conversation we had earlier. Okay, makes sense. So Pup's channel isn't ending. He's just turned this channel into Pup Gaming. So he'll talk about gaming stuff on this channel, and then he'll talk about his other stuff on his second channel, which is over here, I believe. Yeah, Pup Entertainment. So this is where he's going to talk about Spider-Man, like MCU stuff, all that other stuff. And then his gaming content, Sonic-related shit, all of that is going to be on Pup Gaming. Okay, that's all that is. Okay. I was hoping that it would just be the conversation we had earlier. And now that I know that's what it is, then we're cool. Okay, I was confused for a second. So... you have no idea who this is? So, Channel Pup is a friend of mine who I've actually had on the channel twice. Here. One sec. Here. I actually had him on the channel for this episode. And then I was on his channel for this episode here. So we've been on each other's channels, we're decent friends, and we're actually starting a project with two other YouTubers. It is a gaming project. Why did that not... oh, wait a minute. I gotta tell Wayne about that. If I misspell his name, it pulls up nothing. I need to get him to SEO that better. Anyway, we are working with Wayne as boss for this project as well as Game Apologist. So the four of us are going to be starting a project. I don't want to give more details than I am allowed to give yet, but we are working on something together that hopefully those of you in the audience that like gaming content will enjoy whenever that project gets off the ground. Wait, do we have Jesus Mythicists in here? Because the majority of scholarship does agree that a Jesus of Nazareth existed. At the very least, that the stories in the Bible are based off of a person. Like, that part's not really disputed in scholarship much. You have some outliers like Richard Carrier, but they're generally also disagreed with people like Bart Ehrman. Yeah, the Wario quote's a meme. The Chad Buddha versus... no. Okay, look. Siddhartha was an interesting character, but I'm not gonna do that. Okay. We all know in our hearts that the unblinking one is the greatest. Y'all cultists. All of y'all are cultists. Every single one of you. Let's see. What is this? Hold on. Okay. Okay. Seeing the man named Yeshua was in some way an inspiration for the Jesus character in the Bible. Still a fictional character, though. I mean, so technically the character on screen, like Necosurs, is a fictional character, but it's based off of me, so that doesn't mean much. What background do I use for having it transparent? Do you drop a green screen and then use OBS chroma filter? Yeah, I have a green screen and then OBS chroma filters is out. That's what I do. Then you do want to destroy me in Sword and Shield? That would require me to actually care about Sword and Shield, though. Like, I got a whole rant about Sword and Shield coming up on my gaming channel. I got some frickin' problems with that game. Some very major ones. Okay. So, I'm gonna use the restroom. Then we're gonna tackle Kirby. Joe's got a weird thing for us. Also, Emissary Effect, yes, I have a gaming channel. It's called Necosurs.
That squirrel looks familiar.
So I just got back. Kaiser donated $1, said, face it, liberals. Woden is cooler than weird cross deity and Anglo-Saxon pagan. You have no idea who the fuck you are, and I'm almost willing to say take your dollar back. Because that sounds very focused. Which is weird. Do I have a green screen that only requires a camera? Like, it gives you the option to set a digital world rectangle around you that you can get it to move like? No, I don't have a green screen behind me at all. I have a face tracking application that grabs my face and maps my movements to an avatar. And I can blink and speak, close my mouth, open it. Yeah. Is Face Rig free? Yes. Face Rig is free. Okay.
That squirrel looks familiar.
Kaiser said, ha, I'm not a focus. I'm just saying stuff sarcastically. Don't worry. Okay. Thank you for the dollar again. All right, so let's see. What are we doing for our background? We'll do this one. Joe Kirby has a present for all of us, guys. Now, my birthday's coming up. It's actually going to be March 2nd. So this is actually very poignant. He's got a present to give to me. I guess by extension, give to you. And let's see what it is. Let's look at this. Oh, God, those teeth are real close to the camera. That's real scary. I don't like that. Okay. Okay, Joe. Let's see what this is.
So, I heard it was your birthday, and I thought I'd get you a little gift. Would you
how did you find out? How did you learn about this?
like me to open it for you?
Maybe.
So come on now, be totally honest with me. Do you like it?
No. No, I don't like it. I actually don't like this at all. Not in the slightest.
Is it a good present?
No. No, you could actually slit my throat with it, and it would at least have more application.
I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, Joe, it's a broken piece of pottery.
No, that is a weapon. Joe, that is a weapon. That thing in your hands right now, that is exactly what the Joker used to freaking kill people in A Dark Knight Returns in the middle of a TV studio. I would play that clip. But the last time I did something like that, I had to block it out for copyright infringement, and it completely ruined any ability to even play the joke, so yeah, no.
It's a broken vessel. In Psalm 31, verse 12, a powerful king called David once wrote this about himself. I am forgotten like a dead man, out of mind. I am like a broken vessel.
And what does that have to do with this really shitty birthday present?
So let's rewind right back to the beginning now. And all those things that you were thinking about your birthday present, that's how King David felt about himself.
Okay. I can't wait for this to become relevant.
That he was just a failure. He was so broken, he was so alone, that he was nothing but a smashed piece of pottery.
Oh no, this is giving me Falling Plates vibes. Let's not go back to Falling Plates. No, Joe. We don't need to do that.
I believe one of the greatest myths of the 21st century is this. Real men don't cry. Okay, do me a favor.
Okay, yeah, holy shit, I agree. How did we get to this point? I agree with Joe.
Now, I want you to think of the toughest man who's alive right now. Perhaps you're thinking of Conor McGregor. Maybe you're thinking of Mike Tyson or Tyson Fury. Who have
No, I don't think of any of those fucking people. At all.
you got in your mind? Well, whoever you have in your mind, I tell you, if any of those men challenged King David to a fight, they would be terrified. It's written in the Word of God, Saul has slain his thousands, but David has slain his 10,000s.
Okay, yeah, that was because he was a soldier. That he was literally a soldier. With weaponry. Okay.
And here we are, we have one of the most dangerous men that ever lived, and it's written about King David that his eye was wasting away with grief, that he spent his years sighing.
Yeah?
King David was crying.
Yeah, that I guarantee you Every person you named before has had at least a breakdown at some point. That they cried, he cried. Yes, toxic masculinity is a bad thing. We all get it. Men cry. It's normal to cry. Holy shit. I've been through therapy about this. I don't need to be through this with you.
He was crying because he had pain in his heart. May I ask you a personal question?
No, you may not. You're creepy.
Have you ever felt like King David, like a broken vessel?
Well, probably for different reasons. I didn't commit a minor genocide, so I mean, I guess I cried for different reasons. But yeah, sure, we'll go with that. Sure, I felt like King David once. Whatever.
If I'm being totally transparent with you right now, I felt like that many, many times before.
That's because you're
like
human.
I'm useless, like I'm nothing, like I'm a waste of space, like everything that I touch, it just gets ruined, it gets damaged.
So, does anybody else get the kind of like... It's not pornographic, but the imagery here is very, like, manipulative. The music in the background, the very, very pleading way in which he's trying to get across his message. Does it not feel just a little manipulative? Like, imagine if you're at an emotional low point in your life and you come across this guy's video. It's going to sound like he's speaking directly to you, and that's kind of by design. Yeah, inspirational porn. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. Like, don't get me wrong. I have, you know, done a handful of videos where the whole purpose of the video was to tug at somebody's heartstrings. Okay? The We Deserve to Live video was something like that, where the entire point of the video was to tug at your heartstrings, to, you know, get people who the NIFB were saying deserve to die, and point out, no, they deserve to live. So I don't find that, you know, merely doing an emotional video that's meant to pull at your heartstrings is bad. But this seems to be something that's supposed to prey at people at their lowest, which just feels, I mean, Ryla has it in the chat, feels a little predatory. Just a little bit. Why are zero Christians talking about this? Well, probably because none of them want to get a frickin' broken cup for their birthday.
And there's been points when my mind has wanted to end it all. Now...
Yep. Been there too. I've attempted suicide. But I'm not sure what that has to do with the point of the video.
I don't tell you that so you feel sorry for me. I don't want anyone to leave this video and feel sorry for me. I tell you it because we do not know what is going on in the inside. We look at each other and we wear nice clothes. We smile at our neighbour across the road. We put on beautiful pictures of our family on Facebook, on Instagram, and we look like everything is going well. When someone asks me, how are you doing? I say I'm great. But deep down, I'm not great. I'm not doing okay. And I want to tell people today, it's okay to not be okay.
Okay. I'm glad we agree. Where is this going to... Like, I'm waiting for this to turn into propaganda. Like, it's stepping towards it. It already has all the pieces. It's got the aesthetics of propaganda. Where's the thing you're trying to sell me?
It's okay to tell people that actually I'm struggling. Actually, I'm a broken, wretched, sin-damaged sinner, and I...
Oh, there it is. There, now it's gone from I'm in pain or I feel worthless to no, it's sin. And how much you want to bet he's going to sell us the cure to sin?
I need help, and I need a savior.
Yep, there it is. There it is. Now I'm going to let you know right now, I picked this video at random from his channel, and I listened to the first minute of it before this. Got the here, would you like me to get you a birthday present thing? And I was just like, you know what? We could probably have fun with this. I'm not having fun anymore. What I'm experiencing right now is no longer fun. What I'm experiencing now is an intense negative emotion. I'm experiencing propaganda dysphoria where I see this and all of my insides feel wrong.
There's a type of Christianity where we put on our suits, we put on our ties, we have big smiles across our faces, and we pretend that we never ever struggle with sin. We pretend that we never ever have any problems, and
Yeah, that's actually a thing that, like, Jehovah's Witnesses have to do a lot, and it's really creepy. Like, it's mechanical. But I'm sure that your argument here is going to be, we're a different kind of Christian.
everything's cushy, everything's nice, everything's perfect. But the fact of the matter is, we are struggling, and the church should be like a hospital where sin-sick sinners can go and they can find one doctor, and that doctor's name is Jesus Christ.
Oh my god. Really? We're all sin sick and we need Dr. Jesus. I would like... Look, I'm sure Jesus was a very attractive person in his time, so I'm not going to make a joke about playing doctor with Jesus here, though I could. This is 3 minutes into this 9-minute video, and we've hit the propaganda wall. We've hit the point where it's gone from a cute little opening to a conversation about how all of us hurt inside, and then redirecting that hurt to this is because of sin, and oh, now you need Dr. Jesus to help you. Dr. Jesus needs to fondle your sin prostate, and then you can come the glory of heaven.
And he heals us, and he binds us, and he brings us together, and we have a hope in him and him alone. Right, let's go even...
And then it becomes abusive, because if the only person you can rely on is someone who cannot communicate with you, this one-sided relationship will inevitably not end up being healthy for you in the long run. But, you know, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Deeper now. I can't promise you that if you become a Christian, you won't have any problems. In fact, actually, the Bible promises us that we will have a tough road if we walk with the Lord Jesus Christ.
And this is always a super fun one, because, yes, your life doesn't get better when you just change religions. That's not a thing that happens. My life didn't get better when I became an atheist. It didn't get better while I was a Christian. It doesn't change fundamentally just because of your religion. But I do like that, and by like, I mean not really like, the Christian persecution complex that tends to happen. Not all Christians have this issue. It's not all of them. But there are plenty of them. Take your Steven Andersons as an example, who will use the fact that people argue against them, point out that the things that they're doing are wrong, and they'll use that to say, but the Bible said I would be persecuted, and here you are persecuting me. I always find that kind of language, the Bible predicts we'll be persecuted, to just be a super easy thoroughfare for people to engage in confirmation bias. And I don't think that it's a super accurate way to go through life, and I don't think it's a fair way to go through life. It certainly allows people to blame problems on the world on things like sin, instead of actually trying to tackle real-world problems.
Even though we're in God's hands, we're not immune from life's troubles. Problems will come. But I can tell you about a secret.
Oh, you have a secret for us? First, you have an incredibly shitty birthday present for us. Now you have a secret? Cool. Well, can we go ahead and start off, though? All those problems that you pointed that God is not going to be able to fix, technically he can. Technically he can, because he's an omniscient, omnipotent being. So every time he engages in an action, he knows the logical end result of that action. He knows every single step down the way that it's going to lead to, because he's omniscient. And he actively chose to engage in the actions that would lead to the scenario we're in right now, where they're suffering. And if the argument's going to be that he couldn't lead to a different destination, he couldn't engage in a different set of behaviors to lead to a different world, well, then you're arguing against his omniscience. Obviously, he's not powerful enough to create that scenario. Else he's not creative enough to engage in that scenario, in which case he's no longer omniscient. Because omniscience necessarily leads to infinite creativity. But we'll see what else Joe has to say here.
And this secret is called joy. Firstly, and most important...
Joy is a secret? Boy, tell my depression dopamine centers! Please! Give the secret of joy to my deadened fucking dopamine receptors. I need it, Joe. I need it a lot more than that shitty birthday present you gave us earlier.
Importantly, joy starts with Jesus. If you take...
Oh my god, it's an anagram. It's an anagram, guys. It's Jesus, and then we have an O here. Is this... I have no idea what this is going to mean. And I have no idea what this wagon means. I really hope that the O is orgasm, because that does at least give temporary joy.
Take one thing from all of the hundreds of videos I've made. Take this one thing. Remember, there is nothing more important than setting aside a daily quiet time every day. Every single day, you need to spend time alone with the Lord God.
Okay. I could just go ahead and say that that time is going to necessarily be functionally alone. He doesn't talk with you. He just doesn't. The closest that I ever got to that when I was a Christian was taking daily time to grab my Bible, and I would find verses in the Bible, and I would basically pretend that the verses that I randomly selected from the Bible were God talking to me. That was God talking with me. Acronym, not anagram. You're right. Acronym. My apologies. But that was the thing that I did a lot as a kid. And even as an adult, I did it for a little bit, but not really a whole lot, because as I distanced myself from the more conservative side of my family, as I went to go be on my own, a lot of that influence just kind of organically fell off. But that's the closest I ever got to feeling like God was talking directly to me. And I've had Christians in my life try to use this as an argument that I wasn't a proper Christian in that case, but really, at the end of the day, that's not up for them to decide. I did Christianity the way I was taught. I did Christianity in more ways than what I was taught. And the end result was I felt infinitely alone. And it's very telling of the imagery here, though not intentional.
You need to read the scriptures, you need to sing praises, but above all, you need to pray. I cannot emphasize how you...
This sounds like you have to actually engage in ritual. Like, you need to do things that will functionally change your behavior temporarily, which just doesn't read honestly to me.
You need to just pour out your heart. You need to draw closer to God every morning and take in the truths of the gospel into your heart before you do anything else.
Okay, so you've already told me that we need Jesus. What's number 2? Okay, let's see.
Number 2, others.
Okay, yep. Tiny Smallest, you're right in the chat. It's Jesus, others, you. It's not Jesus orgasms yif, which I think would at least be somewhat accurate because furries are based. It's Jesus, others, you. Can I just go and say, though, I think it would be better to just have Jesus orgasms yif. Personally. I think that would lead to joy for a lot of people. In fact, I know a lot of people, I would say that RCA knows more, that are furries and would probably believe that Jesus and yif together, with or without the orgasm, is plenty for joy. But, yeah, no, okay. So it's Jesus, others, you. We need others for happiness. Okay, we're a social species, so of course we do.
At the very heart,
I'm hoping that everybody in the chat knows what yiffing is. I really don't want to explain it. I feel as though if I have to explain that this episode will necessarily... You know what? If you don't know what yiffing is, I'll go ahead and plug my sponsor. Because I feel as though that's at least appropriate. Go to ddlgplayground.com, use coupon code /Surus, and then you can yiff with your partners if you are of that particular variety of individual. Okay, now we're done. The Sonic the Hedgehog fandom has scarred me.
The very epicenter of the Christian message is this message that God says, I've made all of you people. I love you.
You made me with back pain. Yay!
Now I want you to go out and I want you to love others as I have loved you. A number of you.
So, okay, so what you're saying is, if other people do not engage with me in the way that I have strictly laid out for them, I'm allowed to genocide them in a flood? That's the way God loved humanity. Oh, okay, sorry, you're right. So if they don't believe in me, take me into their heart, however that is defined, it's okay for me to burn them to a crisp in hell, right? Assuming that that's the version of hell you're working with. It's torture either way. You're right. Hold on. If somebody does love me, though, I got to do this like God. If somebody does love me, then they get to have their free will taken away from them, and they have to worship me at all times after they die. Well, fuck. None of these sound good. How about I just don't love people like God and love them like me? Because at least I'm not going to send people to hell to strip away their free will in heaven.
Years ago, there was a little Chinese boy, and he went to a Christian school. And he had one teacher, which was his favourite teacher. It was a missionary who was also a teacher at the same time. And as years went by, this little boy grew up to be a man. And he heard that his favourite teacher, the missionary, was staying in a local hotel in his town. So this young man, quite excited, thinking, I can't wait to go and speak to the teacher who I admired so much. So he ran up to the hotel and he got in touch with the receptionist and said, please would you tell the teacher that I'm here? I'd love to have a chat with him. So the receptionist rang the room of this missionary and put the phone down.
Things are gonna get real dark real quick, I can feel it.
The missionary says he doesn't want to speak to you, and now I'm going to have to ask you to leave the hotel. So that young man walked out of the hotel with his head down, and he muttered these words, if that's what Christianity's all about, I want nothing to do with it.
Wait, so if Christianity is about wanting your private space and to be able to exist in your private space and to not have other people come into your home, temporary or otherwise, I feel like that's just basic fucking human decency. The fact that in your story, a kid didn't have the human decency to understand that somebody else in their private abode might not necessarily want a guest right there, suddenly doesn't ring as great. That rings as really weird.
Do you know what that young man's name was?
Oh my god, don't do this. This is like, do you know what that young man's name was? That was Albert Einstein. You know that whole, like, that meme? Please don't tell me this is gonna be one of those memes.
He was called Mao Zedong.
Really? 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 A single teacher wanted some private time, and so suddenly we got Marxist-Leninist China. What? What? This sounds like some legend that just got ripped out of his butt. I don't know how to feel about this. So, one person wanted privacy, and so this kid grew up to be an authoritarian, wanting to rip away people's privacy. Okay, yep. Privacy, if you want your privacy, necessarily it will lead to communism. Okay, guys, I get it now. Here's the strategy. Here's how BreadTube is going to make a communism happen. Here's how we're going to do it, okay? Because Neco-superiority socialism needs to be implemented, and as everyone in America knows, socialism and communism are the same thing. There's functionally no difference between the two. They're the exact same. Nothing's different between the two of them. Just to let you know that. So what we're going to have to do is everybody lock your doors for like a week. And then there's going to be some random freaking kid who wanted to talk with you. Do it on Halloween. He could have been trying to trick or treat, and you locked the door. You were an asshole to this kid. One of them is going to necessarily grow up and gain the power to implement communism, socialism, Marxist, Leninist, Kropotkinism, whatever monolith of left-wing ideology you think it's going to make. That's how BreadTube succeeds. We lock our doors for a week. We did it. We did it, guys. We made a communism in America. We succeeded.
Chairman Mao, my dear brother, my dear sister, we've got to do better, haven't we?
Yes, never want privacy ever. That's what you just told us. Never want privacy.
We've got to start loving people and making time for people. Anne Frank once said, no one has ever become poor by giving.
Actually, I'll have you know, she's probably fucking right. If you became poor after giving, you were probably already poor. Unless you were a millionaire and you gave all your millions away and now you're poor, in which case you are an argument against that rule. I don't know, I tend to think that people become poor because there's a system in place that's meant to keep us poor. And it does a pretty freaking good job.
Okay,
which sucks.
So J is for Jesus, O is for others, and
O is for communism. That's what I heard.
Y stands for yourself. The secret to joy is to put yourself last. When I was 25...
I feel as though there are a handful of therapists who would disagree with that. Because if you are not looking after yourself first, you can't do things for others without sacrificing bits of yourself. You've got to have your mental health in check. This sounds like a recipe for a mental health disaster.
I wrote out 3 goals that I wanted to achieve before the age of 30. Number 1, I wanted to preach the gospel to 1 million people around the world and see souls saved.
That's very easy to do in the age of the internet now.
Number 2, I wanted to have 2 children before the age of 30. And number 3, I wanted to see 100,000 people subscribe to Off the Kirb Ministries.
Wait, you had that? Those were goals you had as a kid? Was YouTube around when you were a kid?
Now, the last one, number 3, partly I wanted to see so many people subscribe is because I wanted the word of God to go out. But again, if I'm...
Oh my god. Look at this, the 6 most hated men who ever lived. I wonder who all he's got there. I see Hitler. I'm curious. I'm curious if I could identify this person. This one looks very familiar as well, though for some reason my brain is just not registering it.
Completely honest with you, a big part of it also is I wanted people to like me. Because I thought, if I can get enough people to like Joe Kirby...
Oh my god, dude. You do know that you can get rid of that sound of the wind blowing into your microphone in post? I'm not going to focus on this.
Well, then maybe I'll like Joe Kirby. But as you know, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked.
I mean, you are a generally unlikable person based on what I've seen on this channel alone. So...
And we were not designed to build up self. We were not designed to build ourselves up. We were designed to build Christ up, to give praise and glory to him.
Oh my god, that is so abusive. Ignore your own well-being. Focus on Christ. A guy who literally does not need anything from you because he's a tri-omni being. By necessity, he does not need anything from you. But okay. Okay. No. No.
So here I am, nearly got 300,000 subscribers. Has it made me any happier? No. I've still got the same insecurities.
Yep, that tends to happen. I have the exact same insecurities about my channel at 35,000 as I did at 3,000 as I did at 300. That doesn't go away. There's never a point in time where you feel so secure in your accomplishments and what you've done, where everything's fine. So, I mean, again, we found some things we agree with Joe on. There's at least that.
I'm still the same Joe Kirby I always was. Now, if you're watching this video and you have not yet given your life to the Lord Jesus Christ, I want to tell you something. You might be a broken vessel, But God can glue all of these broken vessels, you, me, the person next door, he can glue them all together.
I mean, he could, but he also necessarily made us broken to begin with. So why should we have him put us back together? He made us broken. If I were to accept your premise here, the whole point is that we're trying to rely on him to fix a problem that he fucked up in the beginning. This is Falling Plates 2.0. It's Falling Plates 2.0. That's what it is. It's Falling Plates again. Thanks, Joe, for giving me Falling Plates again. Except, no. Don't thank you. I can't thank you for that. I really can't. With all that said, though, if you all enjoyed this, let me know what your thoughts are on Joe's approach here. I think that it's really manipulative. I'm not a big fan of it, personally. I have... Like, obviously, I'm an atheist, so take this from an atheist perspective, but even as a Christian, I would probably find this to be a little more predatory than need be. This is kind of manipulative. Not a big fan. So with that said, if y'all enjoyed the video, let me know. Hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. All that other fun stuff. Let me know your thoughts on Joe, his approach, and my dissertation of this in the comment section below. If you want to support the channel and what I do, please check the description below. You will find all the ways you can do so down there. And as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here. Okay, I need to get Growlithe outside. Beer back. I'm back. Woo. Joe Kirby confuses me sometimes. Not a fan. Oh well. Ah. So, how's everybody doing right now? Are there more toe picks or is it just chill time? It's chill time. We did our 3 topics. It's time to chill. Who made my model? Hold on. My model was made by this user here, Rimixen. Just drop a link to her in the chat. She is responsible for making my model and rigging it, actually. Both. So yeah. If any of y'all want VTube avatars made and rigged, she is the one to talk to. See ya, Jetomatic. Watch terminal montage and it will all make sense. What is that? Rigged, I'm listening. Oh, so yeah, when you have a model made, you have to actually get it rigged. Like, they have to make the skeleton for it. That's why. That's what it is. The key rules of commissioning an artist. When they tell you how much they charge, you accept that amount. That's like one of the biggest rules. Well, obviously tip your artist, yes, but at the very least, pay them what they asked. I didn't know you were supposed to tip. It's not a supposed to thing, but it's generally a courtesy. I don't know, I tipped her next and it was, I tipped 25%. Well, $100 is expensive, but it's not expensive for a rig. Nakami-san, have I seen any examples of your art before? And what are references in this context? Oh, I got you. Hold on. I can give you exactly what they are in this context. So, give me a sec. Here, I can show you when I did Rimixen's, when I did the order with Rimixen. Now, granted, I found that on Fiverr. Let me see, where did my thing go? Okay, so I can't find where in here I put it. That's weird. Okay, so I guess the best I can do is just do it this way. So when I started the order, I gave them 5 pictures to go off of. 5 pieces of fan art that I wanted the avatar based off of. And so they gave me this as the rough sketch for what the avatar would look like. And then when the second draft was made, which was this one, I said that I'd probably want the character to be a little thicker, because I am a thicker person in general, so I provided a reference for that one there, for like how to make the character thicker, specifically. So basically, if you say, I want my character to look like Yusuke Urameshi, you don't say like Yusuke Urameshi, you give them a picture of Yusuke Urameshi that you would like to use. And they use that reference art to build your piece. Chewing. Your ear's actually bleeding? What? Tiny small list, because of the amount of fan art that comes in, I've had a good amount of conversations with artists about like how to engage in art and how to engage in commissions properly. Also, Nakomi, do you have a Twitter or anything I can look at your art at? You have a weird sound in your ear and it hurts, now blood is in it? That sounds like something you need to go to the doctor for. If you can. If you can't afford to, then that's a problem, but... that does not sound healthy at all. Oh, Nakami-san also had a $10 super chat earlier that I didn't get into. Sorry about that. There actually was a communist party in America that was founded in 1919. They split from the Socialist Party during the Red Scare. People confused them with Russia's communism. What? I mean, that makes sense. I think Godless Cranium actually went into that a little bit in one of his videos. H says, it's 2021. I was promised cute femboy cat maids by Biden. When do we start force femming conservatives? Well, we just have all of our leftists get femmed, and then the conservatives will convert out of horny. That's the strategy. The strategy is feminize the left and force the right to convert because horny. That is exactly what we do. That is the praxis, H. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat, and that is what we do. No, you don't bonk the conservatives to horny jail, you let them embrace the horny. I don't care about your political affiliation. Put on the maid outfit. Jesus. I think that it is a good strategy. No need to force feminize them. Just do it to ourselves. And they will convert. Where's my... Raz is playing League. Alex says, how much Surus could a Surus skeptic skep if a Surus skeptic could skep Surus? Yes. The answer is yes. Also, John Smith says, Project Horny Funds. Thank you very much for the $5, the €5 super chat. The plan will also work because ladies on the right will also be lesbian during the horny plan. They can't abandon their trad wives then. Wait, we're still going? I thought the stream was over. So, the topics are over? We're in just chill out mode now. Embracing the horny is a good strategy every time. You have nothing to lose but the chains of your repression. Ace can still be horny. Don't deny it. Just because you aren't attracted doesn't mean you can't have the horny. Some aren't, yes. Some. Yep, the horny is universal.
Yelling at people to repent.
Oh god. Okay, where did my live stream chat go? Where did I drop it? I dropped it on the ground somewhere. There it is. Jimmy Snow had an sex worker interview. She explains a lot of good shit around this. Nice. Oh, hey guys, have we achieved communism yet? No, which means we must continue. The march of communism will not be stalled by the lack of uwu. Okay, so I need... Can he be a sex repulsed and still horny, though? I mean, maybe. You have to ask somebody who's sex repulsed. Do I have book recommendations for socialism? Give me a sec. Grabbing my phone. I can actually go into my Audible. So obviously Conquest of Bread is a good read, though there's some issues with it. Be honest, Philosopher's Toolkit's a good read, just in general, regardless of your political affiliation. People's History of the United States is a good read. And there's another one in here that I'm looking for that I have. Hold on. Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy by Joseph H. Schumpeter. I have not read this one yet, but it was recommended to me by a friend of mine who is actually an economist. So I trust his judgment, though bear in mind that I still have not personally read that one. I have a copy of it, and it's on my read list. Dumb question, what is socialism for you, even? The workers owning the means of production. And democratically electing their own leaders. Socialism for me is a world that has no fucking CEOs. No CEOs, no billionaires, none of that shit. None of that exists in my ideal version of socialism. So no, it's not just healthcare and shit for me. So that's more than you expected? Well, fair. I know, my version of socialism is based on the actual definition of the term. Not just calling certain government practices that get socialized and then just going, aha, that's socialism. By that definition, the military is socialism, and while I'm fine working with that definition, because it pisses off right-wingers, no, it's not super accurate. Even if it can't be done, long defeat is a thing. Technically, it's a Catholic principle, but the long defeat is a very valid method of engagement. Accepting that you may not be able to win the war, but the fight itself has its own merits. Like, even if we can never achieve socialism, or we can never achieve something like communism, in fighting for those things, do we not end up making strides for workers' rights? do we not materially make the world a better place in attempting to bring these things to bear? If in an attempt to bring about socialism, we just got more taxes on the rich so that we were functionally able to abolish poverty, but we weren't able to get true socialism yet? I mean, that's fine. We weren't able to get the socialism, but we were able to get people out of poverty. What would happen to war if people actually having the war had a say in if they had to fight or not? So wars would not happen on the scale that they do now. You recommended Fraud, Famine, and Fascism, Black Shirts and Reds. I have not read those personally, so I cannot attest to them. Just like I haven't read one of the ones that I recommended, but it's from a source that I do trust. Okay, hold on a sec. Monetization. That's a bit too many ads in that video. I'm gonna cut one of those out. Not Facebook, frickin' YouTube recommends all of the ads in a handbasket whenever I set up videos. I always end up having to put in fewer than it frickin' recommends. For a 23-minute video, it recommends like 5 advertisements. Just like, why? Like, yeah, I need to eat, but I also want people to watch the damn thing. Fucking shit. Here we go. Do I identify as a communist or something else? I identify as a socialist. I'm perfectly comfortable with identifying as socialist. Like, I have no issues with that identification. You have YouTube Premium, no ads? Well, good. I actually get more from those anyway. Well, we have another problem, Al H. And that's that any workers' revolution in a violent sense could not functionally happen in America. It doesn't bear out that we would be able to do it on a mass scale. Because typically, socialist countries tend to also be weaker militaristically than capitalist countries do. Even China has state capitalism for their setup, even if they're ruled by a communist party. So what tends to happen is your socialist countries are more able to be exploited by capitalist ones. So we end up running into this problem where, I forget who it was. Was it Chomsky who said it? Or is it Kropotkin who said it? One of them mentioned that the only way to truly actually get a workers' revolt to lead to something like communism is you would have to have that revolt happening everywhere at the same time. Like, the whole world, all at the same time, would need to have the exact same uprising. Kikasta2, is there an audio version of it? I do almost all of my reading via audiobook these days. Yeah, Brits Creek. Premium viewers, every view from a premium viewer is worth more monetarily than a view from a non-premium viewer. We're just chilling out, Autobot. Ugh. You highly recommend Thomas Frank. Really fascinating liberal writer. Okay. Also says, by the way, you'd be surprised how easy it is to get lib rights to agree with a lot of lib left stuff if you tell them you don't want to take their guns away. I mean, makes sense. I mean, I don't want to take people's guns away, so it's... Like, I actually had that conversation with my mom at one point where, like, she had mentioned that she's a conservative because she doesn't want her guns taken away, and I was like, well, I don't want my weapons taken away either because I'm a socialist. Like, I'm super far left in comparison to you, and I don't want my guns taken away. Like, the fact that Karl Marx specifically was like, yeah, no, don't let the proletariat get disarmed. That's a very freaking important point on his part. Emissary from Heck says, where did the name Cirrus come from and how did you come up with it? Literally, I was 12 years old, I was making up a name for myself on RuneScape, and this is the name I came up with. Like, my birth name is Chris, so I modified it to Cirrus, and that became the name that I used for RuneScape. And then just, I started using it on everything. You go far enough left, you get your guns back. Yep. Fraud, Famine, and Fascism first printing was shut down early in '86. It cost over $100 for a copy. Ew. That's gross. You also get paid for premium viewers on demonetized videos? Yes, actually there's only two types of payment that I get on demonetized videos. They are from premium viewers and from advertising companies that are okay advertising on demonetized content. And because that number is so few for both of those, you don't make a whole lot from that. I was Q the whole time. Just a prank, bro. The camera's over there. Pizza or burger today? I'm deciding what I want to eat. So, Eva, my position is always this. Do you need food for now and later? If so, pizza. Do you just need good food now that will be very filling? Burger. Shadow the Hedgehog is Q. It makes sense. Shadow was Q the whole time. One sec. I need to turn off my audio for a sec so I can hear something. Okay. I thought I was seeing something important. It was weird. This has been the best advertisement for YouTube Premium I know of. I know, right? If everybody who watches me watched on YouTube Premium, my revenue would triple. Did you work at a pizza place? Ooh. You asked for hamburger pizza at work and it confuses me a bit. I figured out they mean a beef pizza, but gosh, I was confused. So, hamburger pizza here, at least where I live, is generally like hamburger with like burger sauce instead of marinara, and then pickles, like pickles and onions on top of beef as the toppings. And it's so fucking good. John Smith says, not paying for YouTube Premium, not disabling ad block, just take my money directly. Okay, well, I'll take it. Thank you very much for the €5. Never had a burger pizza? Burger pizza's good. Taco pizza's good too. Cece's used to have a good taco pizza, and then it became bad. Sucks. Opinions on tankies? They're shit. I'm anti-authoritarian, which naturally means that I'm anti-tanky. Like, I just... Lifting people out of poverty is good. Lifting them out of poverty while taking away their basic human rights, not good. What exactly are tankies again? Pro-Stalin or something? You get a lot of pro-Stalin, like, MLs as well. Like, your pro-Mao people, your pro-Stalin people. Functionally, they're your authoritarian leftists. You've got your more libertarian leftists, then you've got your more authoritarian leftists. Am I against tank tops? Tank tops are of the devil, and if you use them, you will burn. You can have my tank tops from my cold, dead hands? Okay. Fine. The Uwu army will destroy you. Your tank top will be ripped. Said, why is it cowardly? Oh, Frank Turek's position... I covered this earlier, but Frank Turek's position on homosexuality is cowardly because he has to hide behind the Bible for it. He literally goes, don't ask me what my opinion is, ask God. And I find it to just be incredibly cowardly. Isn't Nekosaurus wearing a tank top? No, this is a robe. It's a robe. Give your opinion. Anal sex is natural. So, is unnatural. Okay. And... also, why the fuck is the prostate back there, then? Okay. Natural does not mean good. Natural does not mean bad. Even if it's unnatural, you know what else is unnatural? Driving a car. Making a YouTube video is unnatural. Writing a fucking book is unnatural. Anthrax is natural. Go rub some of that on it. Enjoy. Enjoy the anthrax in the eyes. Did I see the elderly trans lady who took a rock to some dipstick and offered it to him at a town meeting? Oh, offered him to actually stone her? Or was he just being a prejudiced asshole? Oh, that's freaking hilarious. That's amazing. Basically forcing them to walk the walk. How much money do you make when one premium subscriber views one of your videos all the way through? Depends on the length of the video. And honestly, YouTube gives me metrics in chunks, not per individual. They aren't unnatural, using a body part for something it wasn't designed for. Oh, wait. Do you believe in teleology? Or deontology, rather? The purpose of an item being imbued at its creation? Okay, yes, but using the car is unnatural. The car is not natural, Maverick. I understand you're really fucking stupid. So it may be very hard for you to understand this. But the car is unnatural, Maverick. Not to mention... does this necessarily mean that only when men have sex with one another it's unnatural, but when women have sex it's perfectly fine because they might engage in things like oral? Also, does this mean that if a guy is having heterosexual sex with his partner and he wants to try pegging as an experiment, does this suddenly become a problem for you? And also just point out that the naturalistic fallacy is a thing. But... anal sex is unnatural in hetero too. Okay, so is Viagra. Who the fuck cares? Literally, Maverick, nobody cares. Like, you can sit there and squirm and freak out about what you consider natural, unnatural, what have you, but at the end of the day, nobody cares. Said the body parts are being used as designed. Again, who the fuck cares about design? If a knife is used as a tool for cutting an object, and then I use it to cut a person, or I use a baseball bat outside of its design to hold open a door, is that suddenly horrible? You don't have to use things based merely on how they're designed, even if we accept that they're designed that way. Think outside the box. Enjoy coming with your prostate. Actually, here's an idea, Maverick. Do yourself a favor. They are objects, not body parts. Okay, but they are designed. And using an object for what it's not designed for should be no different than using a body part for what it's designed for. Regardless, though, you're assuming that people are in fact designed. You're assuming a designer. But even if we don't accept any of that, we can use things and people can do things outside of what designs allow for all the time. And I understand, Maverick. I get it. You've never slept with a woman before. You've never had the chance to engage in anything aside from masturbation. And even then, you maybe experimented a bit. I understand that from your point of view, anybody else being able to experience pleasure with someone they love in a way that they find great needs to be policed by you, the arbiter of truth. But at the end of the day, nobody cares. Let's see. Here, I have an idea for you, Maverick. Here you go, Maverick. I have a suggestion. And it's right here. This thing right here, this magic glass wand, or even this leopard tail. Head on over to DDLG Playground and just shove one of these in your asshole. And hell, tell you what, you can even get it at a discount. If you go to DDLG Playground, please, use my coupon code. Type in Cirrus for the coupon code. It'll get you 10% off when you fuck yourself. Enjoy. Have fun. I'm not a beta like most of you. Okay. Sure thing, bud. Sure thing. Whatever you've got to tell yourself, I get it. You've got to pretend that you've got that alpha male energy. I get it. $10 for the Maverick Forced Feminization Funds. Thank you very much, OH. We got a badass over here calling people betas. It's funny. Now, it'd be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Betas are submissive. And who do I submit to, Maverick? Please, explain. I mean, we'll just assume that being submissive is wrong. Let's ignore that BDSM relationships exist. Let's pretend for a second that you're right. Who do I submit to? Why you want to get bummed when you can pop a load in a V? Maverick, are you too cowardly to say vagina? Is vagina a word that you can't type out? Don't be scared of the word. As for popping a load in a vagina, dude, I may only have one partner now due to circumstance. But last year, like this time last year, I had 3 partners. But, you know, I'm the beta. Cool. Yep, definitely. Definitely. 10 out of 10. Beta out of 10. Fuck the Greek alphabet, I'm on kanji. Our H is Vaga, Vagi, Vav. This is harder than I thought. Having multiple partners makes you an alpha? No, dude, what I'm saying is that word doesn't mean shit. I don't give a fuck if I'm an alpha male, beta male, sigma male. I don't care about your invented fucking genders for me. You tell chicks to go do one because I'm loyal to my GF. That's alpha. Dude, okay, look. There is no reason for me to brag about any amount of sexual experiences that I've had. There's no point to it. But if I had to, I've been able to have things like threesomes and orgies and other fun sexual escapades that I seriously doubt someone with your mentality actually gets to do, because you don't seem to fucking respect people, but, you know, whatever. Oh, it's just alpha male, beta male, etc. It's just gender pronouns for conservatives. True. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that I've had threesomes. It doesn't matter that I've had foursomes, orgies, what have you. None of that matters. Because it's not something to brag about. It's a set of experiences that I've been able to have that are neat. Just like you bragging about being with one partner somehow superior, that doesn't mean anything there either. Don't tell me about your suckling D escapades. Dude, I have only slept with women. Or NBs that were femme presenting. But, you know, sure thing. Moreover, if it was with men, how would that invalidate it? Does that mean that everybody's sexual experience with you is invalidating for them? Because if so, that's fucking hilarious. Are we corrupting society? Yes. Can you be necosexual? Yes, you only attracted to cat girls. There you go.
Sleeping with women is gay as hell. Real men sleep with other men. That's some serious bro love right there. Mm-hmm.
Why do they think they have the right to know someone else's sexual experience? I don't fucking know. People are weird. They invented a million genders for categorizations of men, and then decided to live their entire lives by that. I mean, whatever. We should promote standard, genuine, natural families. Two guys don't create life or families. Ah, but two guys can adopt, and therefore create a family. Unless you want to argue against heterosexual couples adopting. Like, everything you say can be invalidated by a handful of words, and it's fucking hilarious. I don't know why people are competitive about sex. I don't. Some people have sex, some people don't. Some people have more, some people have less. If you personally want to have more sex, then that's on you. But if you want to have more because somebody else is having more, unless it's, like, happening in your relationship, that's kind of weird. I love this comment from Eva.
Sorry, ladies. You not being a man hinders my manliness. But this other guy, though... Oh, whoa.
What's the consequence of being gay, then, Maverick? What's the consequence? Is it that you'll frown on them?
Hey, nice cock.
I fucking love that meme. For those who haven't seen it. It's so bad, but... Here we go. Just Shadow the Hedgehog.
Hey, nice cock.
It's such a terrible meme, but it's also so good. I thought I had a solid snake shit post in another.
Colonel, Otacon won't stop pegging me in the ass. It's really distracting. I'm trying to beat Deep Throat.
We'll just keep on doing doing the terrible impersonations. Aw, is Maverick gone? No, he's still here. He's still here, it looks like. But he's not able to tell us the consequences of being gay. What did you miss, comrade? Oh, we're just emasculating a rando in chat. Stream's ending in about 10-15 minutes, but yeah. Your comments are being blocked. They're not. I can see from my end that comments aren't being blocked. Unless it's something happening on your end, but it's not something I'm doing. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us the consequences of being gay. Meanwhile, we'll go into immense detail about the benefits of docking. A real alpha would get through the plot. Imagine being cucked by an algorithm. Like, imagine what kind of beta male shit it is to get cucked by an algorithm. How fucking pathetic. I know, let's see if I can get blocked by the algorithm. Huh. That didn't get knocked out.
Squirrel looks familiar.
That's surprising. Consequences equals no offspring, naturally prone to STDs, ruin the setup of orthodox societies. Okay, so no offspring. That happens in infertile couples all the time. Doesn't fucking matter. Let's see here. Prone to STDs. There's nothing about gay sex that makes you more prone to STDs. You and the other person have to have the STDs going into the relationship. Like with everyone. Let's see here. Ruin the setup of orthodox societies. There's nothing about living alone or living with a partner or living with anybody else that ruins the setup of an orthodox society. You're just arguing pro-control. If you can't be creative enough to have your own relationship structure and you need it dictated to you by a book, that's perfectly fine. But don't bring that beta shit to other people's fucking relationships. Go have anal sex without a condom, more likely to get STDs. Maverick, do you believe that the STDs are generated at the time, or does one person have to have the STDs going in? Like, if you want to treat humans like livestock, I understand. If you're so fucking stupid that you think that being a literal piece of livestock is the best way to exist, fine, that's on you. STDs occur via infections, which anal sex can produce. Oh, so you think anal sex produces STDs? You're such a fucking idiot. Oh my god. Maverick, STDs aren't spontaneously produced by fucking anal sex. Whoever taught you that does not have your best interests in mind. Oh my god. You think that anal sex spontaneously creates STDs? I could skip a fucking stone over your brain. It is that smooth. It is like a tranquil lake. Anal sex causes ruptures. Ruptures happen in vaginal sex, you dillhole. I have had partners who've been ruptured during vaginal sex. Oh my god. I think someone needs a lesson in sex. Yeah, no, this dude needs sex ed real bad. that just designed for bleeding. No. You know that the bleeding that happens during a period is not bleeding so much as it is flushing, right? That's the body literally shedding everything around the uterine wall. That's not the same thing, you fucking idiot. This is hilarious. Oh, it's like talking with a 12-year-old. Oh my god. Oh my god. I wasn't aware that we were going to be getting a fucking dude like this in chat today. This is so great. Maverick, thank you. I needed this. I needed to be able to smile this much. Oh my god. Yeah, ruptures aren't always a thing in childbirth, my dude. Moreover, again, a rupture in the ass does not create an STD. I'm having a hard time determining if this is Poe or not Poe, because it's so sad. Maverick, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry you have lived such a sheltered, poor fucking life. Maverick, if you think the anus doesn't bleed naturally, you haven't had fucking ghost pepper. Bleeding doesn't... Okay, so, infections are not diseases, Maverick. Moron, infections are not diseases. It's not the same thing. If you're talking about an STI, that can happen in any kind of sex. The fact that it's more or less likely in a different kind of sex doesn't fucking matter.
That squirrel looks familiar.
Oh, they just put me in the clip. I don't know if I'm clipping this part. I'm not certain. I'm having fun with this, but I feel like this needs to be just a memory left in live stream format. But thank you very much for the $15 super chat, OH. What kind of Chinese foods am I eating? I am eating General Tso's. I don't think he'd benefit from taking sex ed, seeing as he's already biased against this stuff. Fair. More likely in gay sex is my point, fool. Okay, so if I were to go and... Hey, Raz, I have a question. I don't know if she can hear me. She's playing League. So I have a question. If I were to go into the other room right now, and I were to ask Raz, hey, can I fuck you in the ass? Would that be a problem to you? Like, would that is that something you'd consider to be a problem? Because that's heterosexual sex. You're the kind of people who will be promoting child and animal sex. I don't promote either of those things. An animal nor a child can give informed, enthusiastic consent. Any act taken with either of them is necessarily rape. And I do not condone that. But it's very telling that you're stupid enough to think that. Yeah, this isn't a Poe. Okay, Maverick. Everyone should vote on what Cersei's next fund should be called. Spiritually dead. Dude, my spirituality has nothing to do with my sexuality. As for what's wrong with Mav, I have no idea. Somebody beat him when he was a kid? I don't know. This is the kind of guy who doesn't factor in consent, so he thinks no one else will either. Fair point. H in the chat if you believe that Maverick is the type of person to not factor in consent.
That squirrel looks familiar.
Thank you very much for the dollar donation, Kaiser. Consenting adults equals noncery and bestiality. Mental gymnastics there. Yep. Dude thinks that consenting adults doing stuff leads to fucking animal fucking. What an absolute dipshit. Oh well. Guess what, Maverick? You can enjoy time out like a fucking child. Aw, did you just try to speak again? Oh, that's funny. You will say a child can consent as children to being given more rights. No, I won't. And I don't say that. One of the only people I know of that says shit like that is Sargon of the fucking Cod. Only a nonce would obsess over child diddling that much. Yep. He goes there. He goes to timeout. If you want to obsess over children, you get to be treated like a child. Them's the rules. I don't make them. Doesn't Sargon fuck cats? Not Shane Dawson. It's a slip and slide with how many slippery slopes there are in there. I know, right? Jesus. Anyways, with all that said, I think we had fun with Maverick. Everybody thank Maverick for being such an entertaining piece of human garbage. I had fun, personally. Brutus says, between this and Benny Boy's WAP take, you need to cover sex ed. I don't make the rules. Makes the rules. Yes. I don't make the rules. The unblinking one makes the rules. Alright, with that said, thank you all for coming out today. I will see you all tomorrow. In fact, actually, tomorrow is going to be a very special episode. Tomorrow, there is a political candidate named Brittany who was going to be going against Marjorie Taylor Greene, but the Democratic Party ended up kicking her out. And she's actually going to be on this channel tomorrow. That should be around 1 o'clock Eastern Time, PM. So if that's a thing that interests you, then come out tomorrow. And hopefully, we will have fun there. 1 PM Eastern tomorrow, Bohemian Lucy. Streams, generally speaking, should always start between 1 and 2 PM Eastern. No, that's in Eastern Standard Time. Can I please say bye to Vincent? See you, Vincent! Alright. Enjoy the rest of your days, everyone. I have a video upload in 10 minutes. Hopefully y'all enjoy that. See you guys.